Hey everybody, this is Jim Hjort with the Right Life Project, and I hope everyone enjoyed a wonderful holiday season filled with warmth and connection, and that you're off to a healthy and happy start for the new year. And it's actually the new year that made me want to come on and talk with you guys today, because I don't know about you, but for me, my social media feed and the websites that I go to for my news are filled with articles this time of year around motivation, goal setting, New Year's resolutions, etc. And as is often the case, there's some good information that is disseminated in those articles. And then there's other information that isn't so helpful. Or maybe more to the point, the context for that information isn't provided, and so it can be sort of misused and end up being unhelpful. So I wanted to come on today and say a few words about motivation and goal setting and resolutions. So let's talk about resolutions for a second. So, the studies show that 40 to 50% of people aren't able to adhere to their New Year's resolutions for any longer than 6 months. So 40 or 50% of people, after 6 months, they've already said goodbye to their resolutions. And if you look out 2 years, that number drops to 20% of people who've been able to keep their resolution. So why is this? Well, it might have something to do with perseverance. And there are some tweaks, some hacks, if you will, that you can do to increase the likelihood that you'll be able to stick to your resolutions. And these come out of the research. They've been researching motivation and goal achievement for decades now, and there's a couple of tweaks you can make. So for instance, one of those is making sure that you focus more on your successes than your failures. So for instance, let's say you're trying to quit smoking. What you would want to do is keep a log of and then celebrate all the days that you go without having a cigarette, as opposed to keeping a log of the cigarettes that you do have. Okay? And why is that? Well, it's because you go where you look. Okay? So, in my spare time, one of the things I like to do is ride motorcycles. And there's some conventional wisdom among motorcyclists that if you're going around a corner and you discover that there's a big rock in the middle of the road, the last thing you want to do is look at the rock, okay? Because you go where you look, you're more likely to hit the rock if that's what you're fixated on. You want to look at the path around the rock, okay? You want to keep your sights set on the path around the hazard. And same thing holds true with your goal setting, and resolution setting. So, another one is that you generally want to stay away from what they call inhibitional goals. Okay, so an inhibitional goal is when you're trying to inhibit or restrict or stop some kind of behavior. And instead, what you want to do is be focusing on increasing a behavior. So for instance, if you were looking to stop eating junk food, you would actually be better off by trying to shoot for eating more salads, for instance. Now, why would that be? Well, the studies show that people who are more fixated on inhibitional goals, trying to cut back on something or quit something, tend to be more prone to fall into what they call the what the hell effect. This is an actual term, what the hell effect. So let's say that you're trying to stop eating junk food, and then you have a donut one day. Well, many people in that situation will say, well, I had this black and white goal that I was going to stop eating junk food. Now I've eaten a donut, so I've failed, and I can't go back in time and not eat that donut. So all is lost. What the hell? Give me another donut. Okay, that's the what the hell effect. So the more focused you are on inhibitional goals, the more likely you are to fall prone to that. Okay, so maybe the poor track record of New Year's resolutions then has to do with poor goal setting strategy. Okay, maybe people aren't using tips like these enough. But really what I want to talk to you about today is that the approach that most people adopt to setting their resolutions in general is really flawed right from the outset. It's really a means of setting a goal that's likely to lead to unhappiness and lack of success, actually, in the long run. And that's because many of the goals, resolutions we set are black and white and objective, just like the example I just gave you of not eating junk food. Okay? They're black and white, concrete, and objective. And to the extent that we hear anything about goal setting in sort of popular culture or society at large, excuse me, we tend to hear about what they call SMART goals. It's an acronym, SMART goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, so black and white objective goals. We hear a lot about these. The problem is that those type of goals totally fly in the face of decades of research around motivation and our long-term happiness and success. And that's because without a larger overall vision of where you're headed, those short-term fixed concrete goals become a dead end. Okay, so I have the goal of losing 10 pounds. Okay, so now I lose 10 pounds. Okay, now what? Now what do I do? So, there was a time when I set a lot of goals and resolutions like this myself, using this SMART methodology. I would set a weight loss goal or a body fat percentage goal. And I'm actually really good at setting my sights on things like that and then putting my head down, working toward them, and achieving them. And so I would do that. I would clean up my diet, start exercising more, and before long, be at my target weight or my target body fat percentage, feel good about that. But then it was like, I have nowhere to go now. Now what? Okay? And so, the maintaining of that hadn't been part of the goal. Just achieving it had been. So, in that sort of nebulous mode that I would be in, I'd sort of throw my hands up and kind of let myself go. Right? I'd go back to my less healthy eating. I'd stop going to the gym as much, start gaining weight. Before you know it, I'd be back in a place where I was thinking, I could really stand to lose that 10 pounds again or get back to that body fat percentage again and start the whole process all over again. Okay? And in doing so, getting a fix of, achievement, that positive kind of energy rush you get when you set your mind to something and achieve it, and that rush is really attractive to the reptilian brain. Okay, it feels really good. It's kind of like eating a donut, actually. It's like a quick fix, a quick sugar rush. But, whether you're working on your physical health, your psychological health, the social or vocational aspects of your life, those quick fixes of achievement don't provide the lasting satisfaction that you're really looking for. Okay? And, the research backs this up. If there's one thing that the research is very clear on, it's that people whose sights are set in the long run on these concrete objective goals tend to be much less happy than people who use a different approach, okay, which I'll talk about in a second. But the point being that setting your long-term sights on these short to mid-term concrete tangible goals is selling yourself short. Okay, it's thinking too small. So, for instance, now let's say that right now you're thinking about wanting to lose 10 pounds this year. Okay, what about, let me suggest an alternative. What about setting a goal for being healthier? Okay, if you set that goal for yourself, well, now you've got all sorts of options for what you can do concretely next. Okay, maybe it means working out on the elliptical machine at the gym a few times a week, eating more salad, right? Counting the number of steps you take every day and trying to increase that over time. The options are wide open to you now. And the benefit of sort of reorienting your goals in this way is that if you take this approach, now every day or every week you get a little fix of some concrete achievement, a short-term milestone, okay? And you get that quick fix, but you're doing it in a way that's in alignment long term with your best interest, with what you really want at the end of the year and next year and 5 years from now, okay? So, and it's really important that kind of boost you get from the intermediate steps is really important. What it means is that rather than setting your goal today that I want to lose 10 pounds and then kind of gritting your teeth and just grinding out a joyless, healthy lifestyle that feels like a lot of work and might not be that fun all the time, and then hoping that you're successful, and then 2 months from now, say, having the scale confirm that you're a success and a healthy person. Instead, you get to start enjoying being a healthier person today. Okay, and when you do that, then the extrinsic outcomes, the weight loss, that will happen. That will happen as a side effect of this journey that you're on, that you've undertaken for much more meaningful reasons of being healthier. Okay, so this will work for you if you're actually interested in being and feeling healthy and not just looking healthy, right? So another example might be having the resolution to find a mate. Okay, well, what if we readjust that one? What if instead of finding a mate, you were to set your goal for being just a better partner in general to people in all kinds of relationships? Okay, if you set your goal this way, well, now there's all kinds of things you can work on. You can work on compassion, self-compassion, healthy communication skills, being a better listener, etc. Okay, and those things will improve the quality of all the relationships in your life, and they will also feel good for you to practice, because feeling self-compassion, compassion, communicating and connecting with people in a healthy way feels good for you too. And it so happens, if you do this, then you're going to set yourself up for being open to and able to connect with the type of quality partner that you're really looking for in life. The kind of partner and the kind of relationship you can have with that partner that's going to really gratify you in the long run. Okay? So I want to be clear. I'm not saying that these SMART goals, that these short-term concrete objectives don't have a place. They absolutely do. We need them for the short and mid-term objectives, right? It's just making sure that they are connected to a longer-term, bigger picture vision of the kind of life that you want to have. So, yeah, setting the goal for, this month I'm going to eat 3 salads a week, each week for this month, in service of being healthier. I'm going to attend a training course in service of being more competent in my career. I'm going to accept one invitation from someone a week, or invite someone to do something with me once a week in service of being more sociable and more connected with other people. Okay? So connecting whatever your short-term interests are to the longer-term interests that really will motivate you and propel you, not just through this year, but through the rest of your life. And the fringe benefit, one really fascinating aspect of the research around this, is that not only are people whose long-term goals that are intangible in nature much happier than people whose long-term goals are concrete and objective in nature, but that holds true regardless of whether you actually achieve those goals or not. Let me just say that again. You're happier in the long run setting your sights on intangible, subjective goals, regardless of whether you actually achieve those goals or not. It's amazing, fascinating research. What it means is that the details matter much less than where you're looking, where you're setting your sights. Okay? So I invite you to practice orienting to the underlying intangible, inexhaustible motivators that really fire you up and that will fuel you over the long run. Look for goals that don't have a finish line. Right? Is it possible to be too healthy or too competent in your career or too good of a listener or too wise? Right? You're never going to run out of room to work with these kind of goals. and the concrete outcomes that you're after, losing the 10 pounds, finding the mate, right, etc., those will be just as likely to happen, if not more likely to happen. But you won't be as thrown off if you miss one of them. And when you hit one of them, you won't be left feeling bored and wondering what to do next. Because in either of those cases, you'll just move on to the next short-term objective goal that is connected to your larger purpose. And also, please, don't wait for the next new year, right? This doesn't have to be an annual event. People fall into this trap of thinking that New Year's Day is the only time where it's helpful to sort of reassess your life and where you'd like to take it, when in fact, look, you know this, New Year's Day is just another day on the calendar. Every day is the beginning of a new 365-day year. And moreover, every breath you take is a rebirth, right? And if that sounds a little too metaphysical for you, try not breathing and see what you think. So reorient regularly. I liken this to sort of mountain climbing. Where you want your sights set is the peak that you're trying to climb to. Those are the intangible, inexhaustible, eternal goals. Okay? Make sure you're pointed in that direction, and then look down and say, okay, what step can I take this week? Okay, making sure that you're on the right path first, and then taking the step. So not just kind of looking down at your feet the whole time, because then you're going to get turned around and lost. So those are my thoughts on motivation and resolutions and intentions for today. And I invite you to visit my website at www.rightlifeproject.com, and there you can find all kinds of I've actually got an 8-part series on this topic on goals and motivation, and a bunch of other topics. You can sign up for my email updates, which I would encourage you to do, because this year I'm going to be offering some new content and new programming. And I think the next one coming up is going to be an online course around regret, and how not just to process feelings of regret that you have about various things in your life now, but how to live in a way that you stop manufacturing regret. Okay? So please visit the website, sign up for the email list, and you can also see, if you check out the services page, that I've got some new packages that I've rolled out for individuals and organizations for coaching. So I wish you all the warmest wishes for a new year that are filled with connection and satisfaction and true happiness, regardless of when you happen to be watching this. So thank you. Talk to you soon.